AI, it's quite the topic today, isn't it? I have been working in Silicon Valley in emerging tech for 30 years, and I focused on the human side. So that means, what does it mean to us as people, as business leaders, for our organizations? And let me tell you that this moment in emerging tech is unlike any I have seen my entire career. I started working in an AI in 2010, and it was really different then, very different. And that's part of the reason why it's so hard to navigate it. This is new. This recent acceleration is new. It's changed everything, and it's hard to understand what to do. So let me tell you a story just to open about an early mistake, very early mistake that I made. So my father's 90. One day he showed up at my doorstep with a stack of papers that he had saved from elementary school, as a dad might do. And just to give you a little bit of context, this is what my computer looked like when I was in elementary school. I love this thing, so I saved it, and this is the television I hooked it up to for a screen. So in this stack of papers, I find an essay, and here it is. So I submit this essay to my teacher, and in it I write, I would like to invent a homework machine. And then I go on to describe this homework machine and say that this is all the homework. How it works is you take all the homework you've ever produced and you feed it into the machine, and then forevermore you never have to do any more homework. So you just set the grade level that you want my homework machine to mimic. I gave it an option of 4, 5, or 6, so 4th grade, 5th grade, or 6th grade, because I wasn't thinking too far ahead, I guess. And there you have it. So evidently, I have been dreaming about this particular moment in AI since I was 10. Okay, there's so many layers of wrong in this. So one thing that's really wrong in this is the fact that my childhood brain was thinking, hey, it'd be a great idea to outsource all the work to the machine and not have to use my brain and not have to do any work anymore. But the opportunity in generative AI, which is the kind of AI that's really behind this recent acceleration, is about bringing together all this power of the machine intelligence and all the things that machines can uniquely do with all the things our human brain can uniquely do. And it's about what we can discover, what kind of new use cases we can unlock when they work together. So let me show you the difference. Okay, we all have human weaknesses. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. Does anyone have anyone in their life who's had to deal with dyslexia or processing disorders? So my daughter has a processing disorder, and she does quite well in school, but it's very time-consuming because it's such an arduous process for her to go through copious text, large amounts of text, and to really synthesize what's in it. So she built a different kind of homework machine, and she named it Bob, and I'm just going to show it to you.
This is Bob. Bob is a GPT. If you upload a PDF to Bob, in this case, hundreds of pages of political theory, Bob produces a table that pulls out each key point, an explanation using more simple words, an excerpt from the document that illustrates that point, and a page number. Bob acts like a personalized Cliff Notes bot so that a student with a processing disorder can have the capacity to navigate complex documents that would normally be inaccessible to them. So the student that cares about learning can take this table and use it to guide them as they read the document to better ingest it. I asked my daughter to think about how this helped, and she sent me an audio text message. Here it is.
I was thinking more about what you asked me about, ChatGPT and stuff. In politics, I would read something 5 times, and I didn't really grasp the concept. So then I was able to use ChatGPT, the simpler explanations, for my brain to comprehend. Then I understood it from a simple perspective, and then I was able to read the more complicated thing and then understand the nuances surrounding it, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you can see how this can augment us. So it can make us capable of things we may not have been capable of before on our own. Now, those were school examples, but the same kind of capability is available to everybody in your business and across every process of your business. And so I'm going to give my talk in 2 parts. I found it's extremely helpful because so much is changing and moving fast in this moment to take a bit of time to just sort of contextualize you on what's going on, why now, and what's different. And then I'm going to give you some practical guidance about how to start thinking about reimagining the way you do your business with AI. So before I get into it, I want to just get a feel for where you are in your AI journey. So how many people have had an interaction with a chatbot, an LLM chatbot, a large language model chatbot? So pretty much everybody, if almost everyone. Who's paying for a subscription on a regular basis to a large language model? Okay, really good, solid number. And who is using AI to do their job without oversight? I got one. I think it was a joke, though. It's kind of where we are. It's this Wild West moment. And it's Wild West because all of a sudden, everybody has this extremely sophisticated AI in your fingertips. This is new. It is throwing questions at us that we are not equipped to answer, and they are coming faster than we're capable of navigating. This is a difficult moment. It used to be that just researchers had to face and try to think about these kinds of questions, and now we all do. This is what the cutting edge of AI looked like in the 60s, which was a very vibrant time of AI. The man that's in front of this computer is one of the developers of the first expert thinking systems. It's at Stanford. And it's maybe not a surprise that that didn't break out of academic hallways. But then, in 2017, these 8 researchers wrote a paper. And in it, they proposed a new architecture that essentially would make a word prediction machine work better. A word prediction machine. Well, that initial paper, this transformer architecture paper, turned into something that a lot of us couldn't really imagine. And this day, what happened this day? Yeah, ChatGPT launched. And so in 5 days, 1 million people had used ChatGPT, and in 2 months, 100 million. And I just want to give you some context for how rapid this is. Facebook took 5 years to reach this milestone. And then panic. It was banned. So it was banned from school district after school district within weeks. And then federal agencies started to ban it. The entire country of Italy banned ChatGPT for a month while they figured out data privacy practices with OpenAI. And we still don't know exactly what to do with it. So Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, and he has a sign on his desk that actually says, no one knows what happens next. It's not particularly encouraging or comforting, is it? And so we're divided. And we're also hearing these really extreme narratives that we're kind of being bombarded by with 2 extremes. One is that it's going to be the cause of extinction of all humanity. And another is that it's going to help us in everything. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, as it usually is. But Edelman is an organization that does a trust survey across many companies, and they've done this for countries, and they've done this for 30 years. And their 2024 survey was focused on innovation. And they found that 35% of us reject this innovation, reject AI, and 30% embrace it. It's quite a difference. What we do know is that AI has capabilities that we thought were uniquely human, and it is doing very well on test after test that we use to rate human intelligence. It's doing well on the SAT. It's passing the US bar in multiple jurisdictions. It's passing US licensing exams for medical licenses. It's doing well in creativity, but another one that is really important in your sector is the fact that it's actually scoring really well on empathy. So there's been a bunch of studies where in different disciplines, they're measuring empathy of AI, perceived empathy, obviously, of AI versus humans, and it's doing really well. So It's changing everything. Everything has changed. So what actually happened? What was the difference? Okay, automation used to be limited to structured data and repetitive tasks. So structured data is data that's organized. It's in a table or it's in a database. It's labeled. Repetitive tasks are relatively fixed parameters. What happened is the machines learned to speak our natural language. So natural language is very unstructured. We say things in different ways. We make mistakes. We have misspellings. It's super unstructured. Our visual language is very unstructured. The machines now can speak this natural language. So what happens is we can interface with the machines, and they can interface, they can communicate right back to us in the words that we all use and that we have been using since we are toddlers. So that means where you used to have specialized skills, specialized coders and technologists, now we can just interface in our natural language. This changes everything. And I know that you all, almost all of you have interacted with some of these tools. But I just want to take a moment to center us and just show you, get us a feel for what this means when we can interact with the tools so fluidly in our natural language. And so this is a quick little video, it goes by fast.
Hey, figure one, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great, can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Great. Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
Okay, so you see how it looks like these machines can understand and reason, right? So the execution's a little awkward, but this is what changed. This is why it feels like you've got this onslaught of new stuff coming at you so fast. But really what's going on is we are only at the beginning. So when you zoom out and shift your perspective, you see that there's such an acceleration of this technology that is blowing away people that have worked in the fields for decades, blowing us all away. And we are only at the beginning of more exponential change. So part of the reason behind that, a big part of the reason behind it, is that the large language model technology is accelerating so fast. In fact, it's accelerating faster than a standard of technology that's become the super engine of some of our tech acceleration. Have you heard of Moore's Law? So Moore's Law is the principle, the conceptual principle that the capacity of a computer chip will double every 2 years. And it started off as 1, and it's now slowing down a bit. So this is a conceptual line, the white one here. But there was a study in 2023 that showed that large language model capabilities was going much faster and doubling every 5 to 14 months. And there's a whole lot of debate about what happens to this line now. Does it plateau? Does it not? But the point is that it is moving really fast. And so what does that mean to you? It means that the AI that you are using today, the ones that you've been interfacing with, is the worst that you are ever going to use. It's going to get better. We're going to get better at learning how to use it. The models are evolving. Okay, so what impact does this have? This means This is what it feels like at the beginning of a revolution. We are at the beginning of the cognitive revolution. The Industrial Revolution was all about mechanical efficiency, and mechanical efficiency is what changed every job and every sector and every industry. The cognitive revolution is about codifying what we know as creativity and imagination, and that's what's going to change every job and every sector and every industry. And that takes us to part 2, because that is why it's so important to think about reimagining your business with AI. So over time, disruptive technology, we talked about paradigm shifts earlier this morning. Paradigm shifts, this kind of disruptive technology ends up being the source of competitive advantage. And so it's really important to understand how to use it, how to leverage it. Over time, those organizations that do it well will be able to surpass others. We do have some time. So there is a pattern, depending on your industry, there's a pattern in technology where and it's a repeatable pattern. You can see it with pretty much every disruptive technology that we've encountered since electricity, is that we tend to overestimate the effect in the short run. And that means that you see a lot of hype, a lot of discussion about how much of an impact it's going to have right now. But the technology hasn't matured to that point yet. And we don't know how to use it well in the early stages. Then in the later stages, it's gone so fast when we look at it from historical standing that we've underestimated it. So that happened with the web, right? So I work with leaders across industries and help them understand, how do we leverage this tech? How do we learn how to leverage this tech? And what I want to do is I want to share 3 mindset shifts that are extremely helpful and important in this moment in generative AI. Here's the first. Okay, in our culture, we are so focused on trying to get things out the door, get products out the door. But this moment is an important one to shift your focus to learning. The most important thing you can do to get compounding returns from your AI efforts is to lean in with urgency to building your ability, your AI muscle, building your ability to learn, experiment, use. We talked about the importance of experimentation and keeping an open mind earlier today. This is absolutely critical. So if you are at the front edge of the AI industry itself, you don't have this luxury. And we have seen, and there's been quite a few headlines about how there's been very visible mistakes by very sophisticated AI teams that are rushing to deliver. You don't have to do that. You can hone in on accelerating your ability to learn. The other thing, and I'm going to spend some time on this because I want to explore a bunch of different angles of it, is thinking expansively. And that is because this is something that is totally different from anything we've ever experienced. Our mental frameworks, our business processes, they are set up to work with humans and traditional software. This thing works differently from both. So it's critical that we think differently. In fact, the areas where AI, generative AI, fails as traditional software is exactly what unlocks all these interesting new use cases. So traditional software is all about delivering precise and predictable results according to fixed parameters. Generative AI gives variable answers. This is also why it has hallucinations. It appears to lie to us at times. What it's trying to do is go through everything it has to deliver answers that make you happy based off the prompt that you gave it, based off the question you've asked. We need to learn how to use this effectively. This imagination can grant us superpowers, but we need to learn how to use it, and that's the AI paradox. Maybe contrary to what you hear in the headlines, one of the most important things, the most important thing for figuring out how to do this is us, humans, people. There's a term we use in the industry, human in the loop. It's so critical for the foreseeable future to have humans in the loop. And you might have heard of AI agents, and there's so many interesting things happening in this space, and I'm really excited about what we'll be able to do in that space. But it will take some time to get to the point where we can use generative AI without having a human in the loop. So we are incredibly important. Your team members, your employees, your staff are incredibly important in this. So how do you figure out, what mindset do you need to have to extract the most value from this new thing? Okay, the crazy thing is that it starts with introspection. You need to deeply understand what your true business needs are. And so you need to really be thinking, this is the people part, right? This is hard work. This is thinking about, where do I really need this kind of help, this kind of new superpower that generative AI can offer me? So you start with business needs. What are your business needs to truly move your business forward? And so you want to be asking yourself meaty, strategic questions like this. What are the core challenges that my team is facing? What do I need to do to be more competitive in my market? The more deeply you understand these needs, the more you'll be able to extract value from generative AI. So, what does that look like? All right, so traditional software, maybe a CRM software, might do something like track the distribution of marketing content, okay? Generative AI, we can think of in different levels. So a lot of people are really excited, and it's a great use case of doing this, something like accelerating the creation of marketing content. That's very task-oriented. You can see good returns from that. It's fantastic for that, really interesting use case. But if you want to extract more value from AI, go further, go deeper. Do something like this. Think about, how can generative AI help me really develop my competitive differentiation so the marketing content that I lead or have it accelerate resonates more with the people that I would like to have as customers and clients. Basically, getting really good at generative AI takes deep introspection about your business needs, and this is also, by design, a mindset shift. This increases your expectations. If you have high expectations of someone that comes on your team, you're gonna have that mindset when you interact with them. And I'm hoping that you shift to a mindset where you have high expectations, despite what you may have seen in your initial interactions with AI, for what it can actually deliver over time. I know there's way too many words on this slide, and I encourage you to connect with me later, and I can share a PDF of all these because there's some interesting information for you on them. But these are examples of the kinds of strategic needs that you might want to ask from AI. And then the key thing is, when you think about where am I going to use AI, is to really hone in on where Gen AI can give you a competitive advantage. You want to really leverage its unique capabilities when you get to the task level. That's where you're going to find the real value. So these are some of the things that the categories of things that it's good at. So it's really good at personalization at scale, complex decision making. It's really good at taking disparate, we were talking about data earlier, disparate data sources, including a lot of unstructured data that we couldn't use really before, and processing that, delivering insights from that, and things that are intensely creative. It is extremely good at product and service innovation. Part of thinking expansively is, of course, thinking across your entire business, right? So there's so many different functional areas that you can use this in. But I want to have you think, too, about how am I bringing it in to each of those areas in my organization? So there are trade-offs between opportunity and effort among different flavors where you can get AI in your business. So we're seeing embedded AI kind of everywhere. If you're using a SaaS software, if you're using a CRM, you're finding that it's just showing up. If you Microsoft Copilot. So that's one way to use it, and it's pretty easy to use it that way, but it also may not be particularly transformative. Another area to watch is domain-specific generative AI that's coming into your organization. So it may be a while before we see senior living domain-specific AI providers, but we're seeing a lot in healthcare. We're seeing a lot in functional areas. Marketing is an area where we're seeing a lot of interesting packaged software that's really helpful. So domain-specific is an area where you want to keep your ear to the ground and see what's happening. The next one is custom. Okay, so custom used to be a scary word in technology because it used to mean a lot of technical resources, and it was expensive and it was hard. This is different. You do need to have tech resources to set up your infrastructure to make sure that you're managing your data carefully. However, you can do a lot of work without technical resources. So that custom GPT bot that my daughter made, she made that in less than 5 minutes, and she did it with simply a natural language interface. So no coding. And that's where we are right now. So I want to inspire you with a case study. This is from Moderna. So Moderna is an organization that has a big strategic need. So they developed a COVID-19 vaccine. It is their only commercial product. And guess what? The revenue's plummeting because people aren't getting as many shots. So they need to figure out how to leverage their IP to accelerate getting more products to market. So their CEO took a very aggressive stance to experiment across the organization with AI to understand how is this going to impact, how can this impact our strategic need? So what he did is decentralized innovation, pushing innovation to the people that are closest to the challenges that contribute friction to this process of getting products to market. And so with proper training and ideation sessions to support this, he's equipped 3,000 employees with access to an advanced enterprise model. His goal, which is a big one, is for his employees to use generative AI 20 plus times a day. It's a lot. But it shows you how it can be integrated in your work. And so employees have created over 750 GPTs or custom instances of ChatGPT for their work since this effort kicked off. Now, I really want to note this is a very unique use case because they spent a lot of money on this, and they have a very intense partnership with OpenAI, and in fact, they have a direct line to support from OpenAI. So that's not going to be available to most organizations. However, the principles behind it, decentralized innovation, equipping your employees, making it a team effort, experimenting, collaboration, like those are sound. I'll just give you a glimpse of the kinds of GPTs these employees created. So one is to help people to get the correct dosage in clinical trials. So if you don't have the correct dosage, it's a really fast way to get your clinical trial to fail right away. And it's really difficult to figure out the correct dosage. And so they've developed a GPT to help with that. Another one is to help people draft responses from regulators. That is a process that used to take weeks, and now it can take hours. So what's the operative word in here? Anyone? Yes, help people. It's about helping people in this stage. So one of the big questions a lot of organizations that I work with face is, where do I start? Where do I begin? And so I do encourage looking at this across the organization, but to help you hone in on the areas that could be the low-hanging fruit. This is a very simple framework. I have other frameworks as well, but this is the most simple one. It's looking at these 3 criteria. How much risk is in a process? How much human is there in a loop? Because we can supervise what these things are doing. And how much value could this return? If you find a breakthrough where something is actually working well, how much value will it deliver, economic value, will it deliver to your organization if you can put it to scale? So basically, look for the processes, the tasks that meet your strategic need, that meet up with those 3 areas. They're low risk, they have high human in the loop, and you'll get high value for performance gain. That's a good way to start making choices and get 80% of the way there to start generating some good places to experiment and to ideate. Okay, I have to share one more thing about an area that is really underutilized and so easy to get started and start delivering value back right away. So what is super strategic, high touch, really important to the organization? Anyone? Sales, definitely. This one, it's funny because I coach a lot of executives, and this is one that people don't think of, but it's so powerful and so easy to get to value. It's as an executive thought partner, okay? It's for you, it's for your, how do I have a thought partnership with this technology to advance my own thinking? So this is why this is interesting to us as leaders. Let's say this box represents 100 million words, okay? The average person in their lifetime, if they read for 24 hours a day, which we know is not possible, can absorb, can ingest 8 billion words across their entire lifetime. 8 to 10, 8 to 11, depending on what kind of variables you use when they start reading, speed of reading, et cetera, et cetera. So if we shrunk those boxes down, it looks like this, okay? So 8 billion words in a lifetime. So the large language models can now absorb, in a month, 8 trillion, 9 trillion I've seen, so a lot. Now, what executive wouldn't want the power of that at their fingertips to help them think? Here's what's standing in the way. And I'm writing a whole book on this right now. We need to work on the way we communicate to these machines. So again, unlike traditional software, we already know the natural language to use, but they're quirky. We have to use it in a new way. And so, again, I have a whole book on this, so there's a lot to say, but I'm gonna leave you with 3 things to keep in mind that can get you started right away. So the first thing, you gotta tell it who it is. So think of all that information it's ingested. Its job is to try to get you an answer to make you happy by looking at all that information. If you don't give it any information, it doesn't know what to deliver. So you tell it what it is. If you want to have a PhD level conversation with your AI, you tell it it's a PhD, what PhD it has, what it's a world expert in, and then you ask your question. Or if you want something simple, ask in a simple way. This is really great to do experiments with, but you see examples where this is a cooking one. So you could ask, how do I cook this thing? Or you could say, hey, you are this famous chef and you are known for your philosophy about blah, blah, blah. So you experiment with this. Really, the only way to get to know these tools is to experiment with them. So I've got frameworks and guidance that can help with that, or just jump in. So the second thing is it's a collaboration. Okay, if you brought someone new onto your team, you wouldn't just give them one instruction and expect them to execute their job well. You need to give feedback, and then they respond, and so on and so on. You need to make a collaboration to be able to, you need to give the machines feedback for them to be able to deliver good results. And this is often why people think, hey, I used it, but I don't get it. Like, it didn't do anything that helpful. Like, how do I move this from toy to something that's actually providing value in my life every day? This is the difference. So these are a bunch of, again, connect with me and I'll share all these slides that have so many words on them. But these are examples of using AI as a thought partner. These are just starters. So you can say, I'm wrestling with this problem, and could you just break it down for me and help me with an analytical way to do it? Or my team has these ideas and we don't know how to evaluate them. Could you please map out and put it in a pretty chart the pros and cons of each approach so we can, and an agenda for facilitating this discussion or whatever it may be, okay? But don't end there. So have evolvers for the conversation. So when you get the response, give it feedback. Be like, hey, that was great, but could you now give me the perspective of a regulator? Or here are my board members. Can you please give me this from the perspective of my board members and help me think about this problem in this way? Or what questions they may have. And the last one is the importance of persisting. So for those of you who have, pretty much everyone raised their hand saying that they've tried these tools, and I'm guessing that the experiences were variable. Some were really positive and some were just like, what's the hype? Keep going. These models are changing all the time. I've had the models regularly say it couldn't do something it could do, and they say, no, I know you can do this, and it delivers this back. Or they work funky one day, and the next day they work fine. This is a strange new kind of software, so whatever you do, don't give up, persist. It's also good for teams. So I work with teams where we brought it in to create a brainstorming approach. It can sit there as this brainstorming partner and increase the performance of the team. It's a fascinating ways to use it. Okay, this is third, but I kind of wish that I could have a whole hour to talk about this because it is the most important one. And that is, remember all those questions at the beginning? There's so many tough questions that come with this, and we have not done a great job of navigating them, and they're going to be really hard to do a great job. It's going to be really hard to do a great job. So it's absolutely imperative that every step you make with AI is done with a lens of ethics and responsible AI. There's a lot of information on this, and I can share more later as well if you're interested. But I believe strongly that the secret sauce of this next era is not only effectively using AI to drive competitive advantage, but it's trust and transparency. In a world where there's so much content and information that's developed by AI, there's a higher bar for that. And the organizations that do both AI and they have trust and transparency, that's the secret sauce, I believe, for winning in this next era. Okay, I want to leave you with one more question that I hope you'll continue to think about and explore. So with all the stuff that happened at the end of 2022 in this space, you know, it shifted everyone's thinking. People had been working for a long time in this space. We're all scrambling to figure out what the implications were. In the months that followed, my mind kept going back to this question because I kept thinking there's so much innovation in how we provide services for people as they get older to help them with the human challenges and complexities of aging. And so my mind kept going back here, and we talked earlier about personal stories. This is mine, where my mother suffered from dementia and Parkinson's for a decade, and I don't need to tell you how hard and brutal that was for her, because you know. But a lot of the innovation that's going to come out initially, the new products and solutions, they might look a little strange at first. New tech is always a little bit janky or odd, right? My hope is that as these come out, they might be things like companion apps that maybe you even, the idea of a companion app through AI could be off-putting to you or some of the families you work with. I have seen incredible work on how companion apps can be empathetic, can be predictive, can help us through, we talked earlier about mental challenges. We can use computer vision to be predictive. There's some interesting work that's been done with virtual reality, immersive virtual reality, and engagement with seniors. You can imagine the power of generative AI creating personalized immersive experiences. Okay, anytime these kinds of innovations come out, the first gen is always looking a little strange. My hope is that you keep an open mind and you have the knowledge of how these things will actually need to change to be useful to people. So my hope is you also share your perspective and your insights with the entrepreneurs who are working on this, so that we can have more to support this process. And I hope that I can be helpful to you. So thank you. And let's connect. So this is a QR code that goes to my LinkedIn. Reach out. Let's continue conversation. I'm happy to send you PDFs of my slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison.